Really?
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming, ladies and gentlemen. Paul Samuel. We got it right.
We got it right.
We got it right. How's your Jeep, my friend?
It's good.
Jeep life is treating you well?
I've always been a Jeep guy, as you know. It's treating me well.
Yeah.
Snow, summer, spring, fall. That thing's made for all seasons.
And you prefer what season with that thing?
Winter. The summer, it's a good time. Doors off. Had the doors off for a solid month straight. And I cooked. I remember I went off-roading up 4 hours away in Minden one day. Left at 5 a.m., doors off, 4-hour drive. Met a bunch of guys. I think there was 13 or 14 of us. All driving down, no doors. And I baked. Like, I was cooking. We were there off-roading for about 6 hours, barbecued, and then another 4-hour drive home. But it was a good day.
Now, did you go mudding or did you go like camping?
No, it was just a day. So it was more rock climbing up by Minden. What's that spot called? Ardbeg. And it's kind of like a beach. So to get in, you're going through sand. So again, doors off. You're driving through sand. I came home and this thing was caked in sand and dust. But it's more rock climbing than mud. There was a few wet spots.
And the Gladiator does just as fine as the regular Jeep?
So this was my first time like going into it pretty intensely.
Right.
And I was worried, longer wheelbase. However, lifted on 37s, I was surprised. Like, I didn't scrape. There were spots where I'm like, I stopped on an incline looking at the rocks below me. I'm like, I'm going to hit my undercarriage for sure. And I'm like, everyone's just like, yo, you keep going, man. Like, so then at one point they're like, you go first. So I'd be going first, and then I got stuck in one spot pretty good.
But the nice thing is everyone over there has a winch.
Yeah.
Whoever's going off-roading there.
Yeah, I mean, every time someone gets really stuck, you either pull yourself out with the winch if no one's in front of you, but most of the time we're able to get around each other and yank each other out. But
Right.
even that time, like I wasn't using my lockers. I didn't have my sway bars disconnected, and I got stuck. I was probably the water was coming in, and I'm going back and forth, and I can feel myself banging on this rock in my rear. I'm like, I'm so stuck. And then I'm like, okay, I'll try disconnecting my sway bar and putting on my lockers, and I got out no problem. I'm like, I should have just done that from the beginning.
Now, what do you have done to this thing?
So far, quite a bit. I've changed all my control arms. So I've got Clayton. They sponsored me with some pretty sweet control arms. So every control arm underneath is adjustable, which is awesome because I'm bought bigger tires and a bigger lift kit going on next week.
Oh, actually?
Yeah.
So, I thought you were done.
No, it's an addiction. It's bad. But so I've done the lift kit. I've got 4-inch lift kit right now on 37s, going up to 5-inch on 38.5s.
Right.
And then full adjustable Clayton arms. I've got the half doors. I've got a winch. I've got my Rebel off-road rack, which holds my gas canister, holds my water, which I use for rum and coke in the winter. Keeps it cold. It's nice. My tent.
That's actually pretty smart.
It's good. You tilt that thing over upside down. It's got a little tap every time you come.
And it
down
doesn't
from the ski
freeze?
hill. No, as long as there's rum in there, and it'll stay cold.
Right.
So anytime I go snowboarding,
I actually never
put
thought
that
of
over.
that.
It's a good time.
And then you went camping during the summer.
Yeah, I went camping a few times. I bought a Rome tent. So I was looking for tents for a while. Rome was hard to get here, but because of Martin, he trucked it over. Thank that guy.
Trucked it over Mexico.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right.
So I saved a bit of money on that, and that tent is awesome. It's good for 3 people. Doesn't weigh that much, so it doesn't sag the rear end of the Jeep, and it's a good time. It's nice to get away from the city sometimes, not be able to see anybody, talk to anybody, and just calm down and
kind of like
one.
Right now.
Like now, at a larger scale, yes.
Now, have you gone off? Do you go off-roading with this thing in the winter at all, or do you typically do that during the summer?
So there's a pretty solid group of guys that I met years ago when I had my first Jeep. And I met them in the winter. I bought that Jeep in November. And funny enough, the next day I saw them on the 401, just a bunch of Jeeps. And I'm like, yo, what's happening here? So I kind of went off course where I was going, and I
just
followed
them.
And then ever since then, I've been meeting up with these guys, you know, like on a monthly basis. We go summertime, we go springtime, but wintertime is it's the time we love the most. When you're in the forest and you know you're driving through 2, 3, 4, 5 feet of snow that no one's touched, and these Jeeps eat the snow up like it's nothing. It's nice to see. Like, you see nothing but white and trees and like deer or moose in the background. Like, it's a good time.
Wow.
And it's just quiet out there, right? It's just a bunch of guys goofing off, having fun, getting stuck, pulling each other out, breaking things, fixing things on the spot.
Well, it's the reason why I ask is because I think of all the people that I know, you are probably the most extreme person in the group of my social circle that has gone through the craziest builds. And it's such a different culture to see you in a Jeep now. So let's go through the cars that you had.
Okay.
So
I'm laughing because I've got that comment a lot of times.
no, I guaranteed.
I do everything to the extreme, apparently.
But you had the G35, which was what year? The coupe?
That was a 2004.
2004.
Yep.
So that was on bags, on Air Ride, when that was popular. I don't know if it still is, but
there's still a scene for it. I think it's dying off a little bit, but there's still a scene for it.
Now, you had that thing, and then what'd you do to that?
So I bought that. I can't recall what year, but I remember it. So it was 2004, completely stock.
Not for long.
Just like most of my cars, it wasn't stock for long. Funny enough, like most of my cars I buy, I have parts lined up for them prior to buying the car. But this one, I bought it.
That's interesting.
Did a body kit, wrapped it. I got annoyed of people sitting in my back seat, so I took my back seats out. Had
smart man.
A shop in Toronto
Smart man.
Full audio system, so I had 4 subs in my back seat.
Right.
Then I turboed it. Then I went back to coils. I've wrapped the car maybe 4 or 5 times, like most of my cars. I did a lot to that car. That car kind of really...
It started it all.
Yeah.
It kickstarted everything for
So
you.
before that, even the BMW I had, that was kind of like an entryway to my wrapping. But the Infinity is kind of what set things off for me. And after the Infinity, that's when I sold it off and opened up the wrap shop, and I just ended up wrapping cars.
Right. Now, with the Infinity, you weren't done with just a body kit and a wrap.
No.
Obviously, with wheels, lowering, and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, there's a tons. It's hard for me to remember everything that I've done, but I lowered that car. I went with Weds. I had Wed Kranz Vishnus at the time, which were a quite popular wheel for the stance guys.
So you were stanced. So design over function for now. And then you did the turbo.
I did the turbo, which I was semi-stance at the time. So, I mean, I was putting down 430 wheel horsepower and 400 wheel torque on -5 camber with like 2 inches of tire on my Nankings. So it was like,
but you were overboosting. Like that wasn't intentional.
No. Like once I got Tony at DMT to tune the car, I was running a solid 8 pounds flat. I was overboosting, so I put the whole turbo kit in myself. I had Matt come around a few times, help me. I had to drop the tranny, change the clutch, and that was my first time doing all of that alone. And I was overboosting, a few vacuum leaks, but once everything got in properly and tuned properly, it was like a normal day, everyday car. Like, you warm that thing up and it's good to go, and it took everything. Like, it was a solid motor.
VQ engines are bulletproof.
Yeah, I was impressed. And it was a good motor too. And the turbo kit was a momentum turbo kit, so it was designed flawlessly. Like, the engine bay is so tight, getting pipes in there, like the step-by-step instructions, literally like tilt it 1 inch, push it forward up 1/4 inch, tilt it this way, and it's literally, you're like playing with a jigsaw puzzle trying to get pipes in. But it was a fun build.
And then from the G35, you moved on to
The RCF would have been next.
The RCF. So you had a
Yeah.
Lexus RCF. What year was that? That was the first year that they launched
That was
it,
the
right?
first year, yeah. So that was a 2015 Lexus RCF.
And then you put a Rocket Bunny wide body. First,
A Rocket
I think
Bunny.
that was the first RCF to be Rocket Bunny.
First RCF Rocket Bunny in the world, yeah.
Nice.
I like to do things different. I've always been more design over function.
Yeah. Well, nothing wrong with that. 'Cause some guys like function over design. Some guys like design over function, right?
They both have their perks. I mean, I remember we were going back and forth about the M4, and I was very close to going with the M4, and I'm like, like everyone, I've already seen a few wide-bodied M4s. I want to do something no one's done.
Right. When you were deciding to buy the M4 or the RCF.
Yeah.
Right.
But and same with the GTR. Like if I can go back, I'd probably make a few different choices. But
What? Like, would you still go with the RCF?
no,
No?
it's a great car. Don't get me wrong. Like that engine again. Like wow, that thing was a fun car to drive. It handled everything, took corners amazingly. But
Right.
to get more power, it was running shy of 500 horsepower. If I wanted to get more power, supercharger, I'm at like another 15 grand. Don't get me wrong, I'll be at 750 to the wheels, but buying an M4 that's turboed or buying a GTR that's turboed
Easier to tune.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So sometimes I go think about what I could have done, and I think I would have chosen a little bit more power over looks. But again, don't get me wrong, those cars look amazing. So
the lines
there's
on
no
it,
loss.
though.
Yeah. But again, going back to my roots, I've always been that Jeep guy. I've always loved Jeeps.
Yeah, that, you know what? So what do you mean by the roots? Like you've had one way before, or you just had an eye on them?
I've always had an eye on them. So even
Right.
when I had the RCF, later that year, I bought a 2016 Jeep Wrangler that I, again, modded up as much as I possibly could. And then the only reason why I bought that is because they kept delaying the Jeep truck that they were...
Right, the Gladiator, yeah.
So that they were supposed to keep putting into production, and every year it got delayed. And I was like, all right, well, I'm just going to buy this Jeep for the meantime. So at one point I had the Jeep Wrangler and the RCF for a few years, and that was the best of both worlds for me.
That's right.
Yeah.
And you dailied the Jeep.
I did.
And then the RCF would be like a Sunday drive type of thing, or when it's nice weather, you take it out.
I drove it quite frequently, but it was more of a nice weather. I drove the Jeep daily, yeah.
Yeah.
The RCF was more for when we would hang out or go to the car meet or wanted to go have some fun.
And I'm surprised that you actually did well with the Jeep, because you pretty much got your money out of it.
I did. I bought that thing I got a good deal. It was $40K outright, 0% financing. I didn't put too much into it because I was able to get a bunch of deals.
Right.
But after 2 years, I sold it for 43.
Jesus.
So I made money off of that with the parts I put on.
Right.
So, the thing with Jeeps is it's like Lego for adults, right? You take off the wheels, you could sell the wheels. You take off the bumpers, you can sell the bumpers. Someone would want to upgrade the bumpers.
Someone's always looking for it.
Yeah. So, to buy $1,000 bumper, you sell your old one for $600. You're spending $400 for $1,000 bumper. It pays out at the end.
Yeah.
So it paid out. It was a fun truck.
Yeah, because that was the first time you took me off-roading, and that was awesome. And I'm pretty sure they closed that area down.
They did.
Now.
I was there the other day. It's all blocked up. Actually, a buddy of mine got stuck there one time, and I'm like,
really?
Where are you? Like, it's blocked off. How are you stuck? And he's like, I'm a little bit down the road, and he was in someone's like farm field.
So you tried to like sneak in.
Yeah. So he thought that's the way that you were supposed to go in. So it took me a while to find him, and I'm driving through these bushes, and my doors are off, right? So I'm getting smacked, and I had my niece was with me. She was loving it, but
she feels like Dora the Explorer.
Yeah, she's really into all of that stuff, which is pretty cool, and so is my nephew. He likes to play with my toy cars. I had a bunch of collector ones that are no longer in one piece, but that's okay.
Now, is there anything about the Jeeps that you're not a fan of? Aside from the windshield cracks?
Yeah, so I'm on my second, as you know, which sucks because I got it fixed in the same week it broke again.
Paul calls me one day, says, no, I told him, we were just talking about windshields, and I'm like, I could probably hook you up with one with a decent deal. And I did, and you ended up getting it, and then that windshield cracked within, 24 hours? Was it 24 hours or the same day?
I got it installed Tuesday, and it broke Thursday. Yeah, so
for those of you guys who are watching this, whenever you buy a Jeep, buy the windshield protection.
Yeah.
Because that is one of the most commonly things to go. Like one of the most common, things to crack
100%.
or break down. Now, the other thing you said is power. Are you
lacking.
planning on doing anything?
So I'm in the talks with, I believe it's CPR Performance in Toronto, to put a Magnuson supercharger in.
A supercharger.
Yeah.
Because that thing already sounds, it's odd enough, but whatever you did to it, it sounds like a
good.
VQ engine.
It does. I get GTR quite often.
Yeah.
And before I even put the muffler on, when I just cut the exhaust off, it sounded like a 700 horsepower tuned GTR.
Yeah, which is weird.
It is. It shook me a little bit.
But a very, very like slow sounding one.
Yeah.
Because it's taking forever to get there. But
it's loud, but you're like looking at this thing and you're like, this guy's going nowhere. Why is it so loud? It's one of those.
So you have that, and then gas mileage, I hear, is not the greatest.
No, it's pretty shoddy. I'm filling up every other day. It's good.
Really?
Good.
How far do you drive a day?
It does about 350 a tank.
Right.
So those of you who know me, I don't know why. I've been trying to figure out for years, but somehow I drive 400, 350 kilometers every 2 days. I don't know where I go, but somehow I managed to do that. So I'm filling up $80-$90 every 2 days.
Jeez.
During this COVID, I've hardly been driving, which is nice.
So you're saving money.
Yeah, like I'll go a week without going to the gas station. I'm like, something doesn't feel right here. I'm
supposed to be somewhere.
Yeah, like
I'm supposed to be spending something.
Am I missing something? I got an appointment at the gas station.
Yeah.
I got actually to the point where I downloaded an app called Refuel, and they come to my house now.
Oh, was that because my wife told you?
Was it Kaylin?
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
Yeah,
and I've been using it since.
So Life Hack 101. Download an app called Refuel. These guys will come to your door.
Yep.
And fuel up your car for you, whether it's premium, whether it's regular, mid-grade, doesn't matter. The other nice perk is it's usually cheaper than a gas station.
It is. I mean, if anything, it'll be 5 to 10 cents cheaper, and it's only a $3 surcharge for them to come to you. Which
they're not surcharging because it's COVID.
Oh, and they could have stopped doing that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I typically fill up. I think it's costing me $75 to fill up, and I fill up for like $68 with them.
Yeah.
So they'll come in. They'll just go boop, 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 done. And then next thing you know, you just get a receipt on your email, and that's it.
Yeah. It's a no-brainer to me.
Yeah. So I'm not plugging them. I'm not sponsored by them in any shape or form. But, I mean, who doesn't like saving money?
Yeah.
It's nice.
They've come to my work a few times. I've had the guys make fun of me, but,
It's free. I mean, you don't have to make the trip. It saves you time, and it saves you money. So, best of both worlds.
And, I mean, when you're filling up every 2 days, you kind of get tired of going to the gas station. I push my limits. I think I know my Jeep. I've had my Jeep run out of gas 3 times on me, 5 feet away from my house. I'm the guy that's like, I know my car. I don't know my car.
Oh, so I met you through cars.
Yeah.
And that was probably back into the days where was it local car shows or Toronto car shows?
I think it might have been Toronto car shows.
Like, and I'm talking about like Toronto outdoor car shows, like Urtefa, when they used to.
No, I think actually we may have. I'm trying to remember when we met and how.
I remember one of the greatest nights ever was at the runs.
Oh yeah,
that was amazing.
Was that the night we had the van?
No, that was
the G night.
That was my very first experience with 2 things. Underground street racing thing out of Toronto, and a accidental street race, and a Red Bull, because I've never had an energy drink.
Your first
in my
energy
life.
drink.
Yeah, and I was up. But yes, for those of you who are listening to this and kind of wondering, what do you mean accidental? There's no accidental. Do you remember that?
I do remember that night.
So the way, I don't know. Long story short, I was driving a guy I didn't know. And he was telling me where to go. And it was literally like Fast and Furious edition. Like, you'll see industrial zone, cars, going off, right? And
they stage themselves. Like, we line up down the road and people are watching cops. It's literally Fast and Furious.
It's safe. It's safe for the most part. If things can go wrong, if someone breaks an axle, launching or something, a car can go off and hit you, yes, but that's the risk you take if you go. But what happened was I was driving this guy I didn't know who knew the location of where we were going. And then we get there, and as we were getting there, it's on the same road to get in. They drag on the same road.
Yep.
And John was behind me with his GoPro, and he has this on video, and it's on YouTube. I'm going to try and find the link and throw it up in the description. But he had the recording of me lining up with these cars that were just kind of entering the show, or at least I thought they were entering the
street,
just the street to go park. He's like, "Oh, pull up to that EK Hatch. That's one of my boys." I'm like, "All right, cool." He's gonna say hi to one of his friends, and I'm in a stock, RSX. Pull in, and I roll my window down, and that's where I got Fast and Furious vibes, where the guy just kind of, looks at me, and then the passenger is like, "Hey man, how's it going?" He doesn't say anything. Some dude out of nowhere goes in between two of our cars, and he points at me. "You ready? You ready? And go." I'm like, "Oh, okay, I guess I'm racing." And then we took off. But that was weird, man. That was so weird.
Yeah. It is a weird feeling, especially your first time.
And then we got booked.
Yeah. Your first time is a weird time. There's a lot of adrenaline, but then the cops, when they come in,
yeah,
it's like
it's
15,
scary.
20 cops, and everyone just booking it. It was thrilling.
Yeah.
I think I've only been there 2 or 3 times.
But it's like when you go, when I only went the one time, but I'm never going to forget it. And when we got, the way it was explained to us, "Hey, we're going to go watch some street races." Cool. Sure, I'm down. I'm down to go see some cars.
Just going to pull up to my first stage here. And
yeah, like, what the hell? But it's crazy because all those guys are so skeptical. Like, I came outside and I brought my camera too, because at that time your cell phone just wasn't good.
Not good. And
I brought my parents' camera, I remember. And as I was kind of taking photos and recordings, they're like, "You can't do that." And I'm like, "Well, what do you mean I can't do that?" He's like, "Are you a cop?" Well, I'm like, "Dude, I'm 20. Just relax here. I'm a child." And these guys got sketched out, right? But it's very, very controlled.
Yeah.
And you say you went 3 times?
I've been 3 times. I've been once in the G35, which I didn't.
Like you ran it, or you just kind of went?
No. I think this might have been a night with the Urtefa guys on the way back on a Saturday. We were just hanging out, and I got a message about the run, so I pulled up in the G, and I was just watching. That night, like every other night, it gets booked. Like, these cops are on radar. They've got helicopters up there, so it got booked. I just like to go for the adrenaline. I never raced. I was in a van my first time. I think I was with PJ. I think Matt might have been there.
Yeah.
And we're just hiding in a van in one of the parking lots watching everything happen. And like, you're in a van, so you're not going to get booked. And you just see like cops come in, 10 cars this way, 10 cops this way, 10 cars go that way, 12 cops go this way. It
was weird.
Yeah, it's not, you wouldn't expect to see something like that around here.
No.
So I was quite shocked, but I've only been 3 times. It still runs today.
Really?
Like, not in the winter, but in
Obviously,
the summer, it's on every weekend.
Yeah, I know. I learned my lesson when I got booked on the highway, trying to impress a girl doing 98 over.
Oh, yeah.
That was not fun. She was nice, though.
It's always a girl.
She was nice.
Yeah. The cop was nice?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she pulled me over, and she's like, "Do you know how fast you're going?" I'm like, "Yeah." I learned 2 things with this experience, because I feel like my feet have been cut off from my body. I feel like crap. And she's like, "Yeah, what'd you learn?" I said, "Honestly, there's a time and place. Clearly,
this is neither.
This is neither of them, right?" And she's like, "Okay, and the second thing?" I'm like, "Second thing is, if you want a girl to be ready for 6 o'clock, tell her to be ready for 5, and then she'll be ready for 6. And then she kind of laughed, and I'm like, "Listen, I know what I did. I'll take whatever ticket you have for me, blah, blah, blah." And then she goes back for 10 minutes. So she comes back. She's like, "Listen, kids these days, they give me a hard time. Since you didn't do that today, I'm going to give you a break. 49 over. And I'm like, "Thank you."
I remember this.
And then since then, I just slowed down. Oh, yeah. And then I just kept it on the track. Now, the only time you've been on the track, and correct me if I'm wrong, was the drag strip, right?
Yes.
And that was with me and a few of my customers and friends, right?
Yeah.
We went to St. Thomas.
That was the only time that we went together, yeah.
Right. Did you go any time other than that?
I've been tons of other times. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Like on an actual circuit?
On a circuit. I used to. So before my G35, I had the BMW 328 IS.
That was the E46 or E36?
36. Yeah.
36.
Yeah. That I used to track often. The G I took to the drag, and the Lexus I tracked and I dragged. But we've only been once. Race Rocket days. When it was purple with the big Race Rocket logo on the back. Due to Nico's chalk stick or whatever that was.
I put mom's car
Yeah.
on my 1 Series. That was fun.
And Race Rocket on my back windshield, which for some reason did not come off for like years. You could
Actually?
still see the imprint. Yeah. Like every time you wash it, you'd see like the water fade, but you'd see an imprint that says Race Rocket. I don't know why.
Did you let it bake in the sun?
I mean, it was on that car all day, which probably could have done it.
Came off
Till we drive
mine.
home.
It
Yeah.
came off mine, yeah.
No,
Easily.
I thought it was. I mean, I watched the car drive off as I sold it, and you could see a little faded Race Rocket as it drives off.
Was that a bittersweet moment when you sold it?
It was. I mean, it was pretty hard to let that thing go. You know, being able to put your mind into something like that and be able to achieve it and be able to actually attain it and then watch it form in front of your eyes.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I had it for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
And then watching it drive off was pretty hard. It was probably one of the hardest cars I've had to let go.
Really?
Like the G35 I sold to start the business. That was, you know, it had to be done. And I bought the Lexus within 5 or 6 months. But watching the Lexus go was
Tough.
a tough one, yeah.
Yeah. Are you planning on getting into another car again?
I am.
Ooh.
I am in the plans, but when will that happen? I don't know. I want to go up another step.
Another step from the RCF.
Yeah.
Pray tell.
Somewhere along the lines of
Porsche.
yeah.
Ooh, nice.
Ever since I drove that, which I wish I took you for a drive-in, but that 911 Turbo S.
No, I've driven. Is it what year was it?
It was 2018. Turbo S.
991.
991. Full exhaust.
Yeah.
Full tune. I think it was pushing 722 to the wheels.
Oh, so it was tuned.
Yeah.
See, I drove a stock one.
No, man.
That was terrifying. Almost made me black out when I launched it.
Yeah, like I've driven many cars, Ferrari, Lambo. I've never been in a car that just sounds like you have a jet engine behind your ears.
Yeah.
And it's on all the time. Like that first gear, I got stuck on traffic on the way home, and it's just like you.
Can I leave it in first?
Yeah, like it doesn't even matter. First, second, third, they all feel the same. Like the higher the gear you're in, it's like it just wants to go more and more. And it was just like that car was ready to go, but you felt like you're in control. You didn't. There's no sloppy seconds. There's no sloppy, steering. It's just like you are in control, and the power is in your hands and in your foot. And you want to give it, it'll take it.
Now, are you planning on getting a 991 or a 992, or are you planning on going older? Because the older you get, unless you're, it's hard to say. But as soon as you go air cooled, like
Yeah.
right, that's where it really gets expensive. Like, are you looking to do the same thing, like design over function, or a little bit of reverse roll?
I'm kind of looking more for the reverse roll.
Right.
I want proper performance. I want to be able to take this thing to the track and know that it'll drive home okay. But I also want 700 to 900 horsepower coming out of my next car.
So it's definitely gonna have to be a turbo S.
Yeah, it'll be a Turbo S 991 2017 or 2018 PDK.
Oh, you're not gonna go for stick.
No, I do PDK.
Interesting.
I just there's something I love stick. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
My other option over a 991 would be hands down an MK4 Supra.
Right.
But I think a car like that, you need PDK, at least for me. I would love stick, but having that downshift and the upshift instantaneously.
And you're probably gonna be shooting flames with this thing.
Yeah.
Because that's like you want to do 700 to the wheels.
To the wheels, at minimum. I mean, for that car, that's an exhaust and a tune, and you're at 710, 722 to the wheels.
Jesus.
Yeah, they're nuts. I've like we've talked about it many times. I was never a big Porsche fan.
And I kept on telling you, drive one, and then you had to drive one because of work, right?
Yeah, like I was a customer. I had to go pick up the car.
And what did you used to do for those who don't know you?
So, you mean what I did for the cars? Or
No, for business, like business.
So I used to own a wrap shop. I started off with my '97 BMW 328 IS. I had a rusted trunk that I wanted to fix, and I didn't have money to paint it, so I looked at options online, and I came across wrapping. This was when I was 16, so this was 12 years ago.
Wow.
And so I got some Chinese carbon fiber film from eBay. The biggest piece of garbage. It was like wrapping a basketball with cardboard. It was bad, but I ended up doing it with a bunch of seams, a bunch of cuts, and everyone thought it was so cool. So I'm like, yeah, just don't get too close.
Into a business.
Yeah. So I mean, I started wrapping people's like phones. I started wrapping people's laptops, PlayStations. I went to university, and I think I did maybe 10 to 20% of my university course load, and the rest I was like buying body kits and wrapping body kits and selling wraps for people. And like I'd go to people's houses and wrap their cars or wrap anything they had. And then that went into selling the Beamer and then buying the G. And then I was doing group buys for all the G guys in Toronto. I had an 18-wheeler show up to my house one day with 2 massive boxes, and he's like, next time, let me know that this is a house, not a business. Massive 18-wheeler, like in a very tight subdivision. And I'm like, I didn't know that this is what I was expecting. So I basically worked through university rather than doing my university course load. And then opened up the wrap shop, and I've been pretty much wrapping for 7-8 years. We've had some pretty cool projects.
Oh, I remember.
Yeah.
I remember you had a lot of nice ones. Like you had Ferraris, Lambos, ACR.
Yeah.
You also got to drive a lot of what you've wrapped too.
That was the nice thing. So being in Kitchener has its perks. Majority of my clients were from Toronto. They didn't want the Toronto pricing. We weren't much off, but we were cheaper. But the quality was just as amazing. We had a solid team. And the best part was, hey, like, I want my Lamborghini wrapped. Come pick it up and, enjoy it for the weekend and wrap it and bring it back. So I would drive down, get dropped off, or,
How old were you when you drove the Lambo?
I was anywhere between, 21 is when I started. 20 was when I started. I was driving Lambos at the age of 21. Ferraris, Lambos,
nice.
Corvettes, Vipers, and
Go fast cars.
Yeah. Then I bought the Lexus, and I wide-bodied the Lexus. I joined NFR on one of their rallies. And
with my brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the greatest times I've had. I think he had a pretty good time too.
Yeah.
Doing 280, 310, 320.
In Mexico. Yeah.
Mexico streets with helicopters above us and SWAT teams.
But you know what? They did get booked in Barrie, and you weren't a part of that.
No.
Yeah,
I wasn't there.
I remember that. That made the news. But this was all.
No.
This was all out of Canada. I'm pretty sure you guys.
That was Canada. We were in the States at this point.
Yeah.
But we did get booked off once coming off the highway. We were on our way to a North Face rally meet. There was probably 40 of us exotics, and I'm up front with Viper beside me.
And you probably had the loudest car there.
It was the loudest car. I don't know why. Somehow I always would end up being at the front, but my car always had some weird, unique wrap on it, so maybe that's why. But like, we came off the 407.
Well, I remember you had the multicolored, like
the tribal pattern.
Yeah, the tribal pattern, black, white, and minty green.
Yes.
Yeah.
I did that. I designed that specifically for that. That rally was the first rally.
Oh, you designed it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I wanted to do something funky, stupid, weird, eye-catchy.
Right.
And plaster with NFR because it was the first rally.
Right.
And we did Montreal. So we started in Toronto, went to Montreal, then New York, and then Atlantic City. Somewhere else in the States, I can't remember. And then back to Niagara and back, and it was a great time.
A lot of gas.
Lots of gas. Lots of kilometers. Lots of speeding.
But you'll never forget that. And I got to find the video of my brother washing your car as you guys are on the
video.
My brother sticks his head out of the window, sticks half his body out the window,
Yeah.
is just drying your car in the rain.
It was raining. We're on the highway, and we thought it'd be funny to, part of the video, try and wash the car, dry it off as we're driving in the rain, and he's sticking his whole body out, and he's getting soaked in rain. Like,
It was when he had a flow too. Like, he had long hair,
and it's whipping him in the face, and he's smiling for the camera as he's wiping it with a microfiber.
Yeah.
It was good. It was one of my most memorable trips.
Yeah.
And I would definitely do something like that again.
Yeah, see, that's the one thing I regret not doing is I'm always consistently working, and I can't get to partake in these things.
Yeah.
And usually weekends, right? Like, I'm always working Saturdays and whatnot, and for me to take just 1 week off was just hard.
That's a lot to take off.
So, no, I get it. But no, that's cool. So, where were we?
We were at
Before I asked you to...
all the wrap business.
Right.
So wrapping cool cars. And yeah, so I did that for 7 years. Closed that company down and started working for another company, believe it or not. So they used to contract work from me, doing a bunch of Molson fridges, Molson coolers. So it was all promotional merch and promotional products for all the beer companies. And
Right.
as money comes and goes, you only make so much money wrapping cars here and there.
Yeah.
And the industry was booming at the time. So I got into it at a good time, but then
And you got out of it at a right time too.
I think so, yeah. I mean, it's still to now. I mean, like there's a greater number of people that want cars wrapped, but the problem that I found was a shop next door would open up, and they'd be like charging $1,500, whereas to do a proper job, you need to charge $3 to $4 or $5 grand. You got to take the whole car apart. You're spending a week on this car. Every day is costing you money. Shop time, $100 a day. To make a good amount of money and to keep customers happy, you got to charge, and they got to understand that. But when shops open up charging $1,500,
You can't compete with that.
no, and
Because you got to make a living.
you got to make a living.
And profit is not a dirty word. I always tell that to people.
No, I mean that's how the world goes, right? And these people would break people's cars. They would put knife marks. They wouldn't take door handles apart. Nothing comes off. They're using $200 Chinese film, and that puts a strain on the wrap industry. Then people are saying, why would I want to charge, or why do I want to pay $4 or $5 grand to get a job like this, right? So it's you're constantly fighting with business around you and people trying to tell you that, why should I do this? Why don't I just go paint my car? And then you got to tell them, okay, well, you're going to buy a $300,000 Lambo and you're going to go spend $15K to paint your car, but now it's going to be rebranded as repainted.
Right.
Value's going to go down.
Right.
Where you can just wrap it, take it off,
Right.
change the color. But
Things happen, but when it's consistent, that's a different story.
yeah. But no, I think now it's good, right? And now you can ceramic coat, which is very popular. So people wrapping cars with ceramic coating, like
It's so tedious, though.
it is. I'm
Oh
sure
my
you have a good and PPF.
11 and a half hours with me and a friend of mine. And
But-
we didn't do we did it properly, but we didn't do it like properly. Like you're supposed to have it in a controlled environment. We did it in my garage.
But well worth it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
And the PPF just to top things off is the way to go.
Yeah, I need to re-PP that thing. I need to re-PP.
It's the experience of doing everything on your own, right? Like it's you enjoy, like to me it's always been I've almost enjoyed building my cars more than driving them. It's bringing it into the shop, being able to get underneath it, putting the whole turbo kit in my G35, like
finding out what makes it tick.
yeah,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like
Yeah.
But there's something about it, it's a calming place.
Right.
You put a vision together. Like for the Jeep Gladiator, I had a vision of how I wanted it to look 7 years ago. Did I think I would get there? No, but am I there now? I would say yeah. And you open up the garage in the morning and you look at it, you're like, wow, like
It's real.
I like this thing. This is for me, whether people don't like it or not. I enjoy this thing. And it's real. Yeah. Like it hits you sometimes, and you look at it and you look at your car and you look at your collection and you're like, yeah, like,
Yeah, at the end of the day, one thing I always looked at, and I think it was like Will Smith said it.
I'll fix that.
No, it's okay. You'll wrap it back.
I'll wrap it back.
No, I gotta glue it still. It's, a lot of people will buy things. They don't have, what was it? People will spend money on things people will spend the money they don't have on the things that they don't need to impress the people that don't really matter.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, if you're buying things for other people, what's the point? Right.
Yeah.
And that's where, if you don't do it for yourself, you're not going to be truly content or happy with what you got. Like whenever I open up the garage and I see the S2000, I'm happy. Every single time I turn the key and I see the LED cluster go on, I'm happy. It's personal preference, and that's the one advice I can, me and my friend Ged talked about this on the last episode, and it's at the end of the day, if you're not doing it for yourself, what's the point?
Yeah.
Right? It's what makes you tick, and a lot of guys like to buy things to show other people, and I think that that's where you have your biggest mistake, because then you're not truly content. Then you're going to be always looking for the next best thing. But once you actually get what you have, you're happy. You're settled.
Exactly.
You're not settling, but you're there.
Which is pretty much exactly your story with the S2K.
Yeah.
Like that's a pretty detailed story of how you pictured that whole thing and how and why you did everything to get to.
Yeah, that was it's one I'm never gonna forget.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm gonna share it today, but it's definitely an interesting story.
No, that'll be an interesting story.
Yeah.
I still remember the day you came over with it, and like it's an awesome car.
Yeah. No, I love it. I'm surprised that I love how it, and I talked to Dragus about this. I told him that I think that it's not the key to find a fast car. It's to find a car that feels like it's fast.
Yeah.
When you're...
Is it in gear yet?
No, that did not feel fast. Let's be honest. The RSX was... we were on our way to... Was it basketball? I think it was basketball. In Trashmore. And I'm in the RSX, just installed an intake, and I'm banging through second on the on-ramp, on the highway, going to third, from third into fourth, and then Paul just sticks his head from the rear seat in between me and the passenger. He says, "Is it in gear yet?" While this thing is just screaming.
It was like the Jeep. It's one of those cars that just makes a lot of noise, but you're doing like 60 or 70.
Yeah.
But that was a funny night.
Yeah. But no, it's crazy, because when I take my wife out, I'll take her out the first time I took her out, she came home from her cottage and she asked me to go to her cottage. I'm like, no, I'm picking up the car. And she was fine with it. Picked her up, and we were just going in our area, and she's like, babe, slow down. It's a residential zone. I'm like, I'm doing 40. She's like, oh, I thought you were doing like 70.
Top down?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the one thing I like about it, is the fact that you have a top that you can take down. I don't think I'm going to get a hard top for it.
No, I was going to ask you.
As much as I want to, it looks beautiful, but what's the point of having a convertible if you're just going to keep the top
hard
up?
top, yeah.
So.
And you mostly just drive that thing in the sun anyway, so it doesn't make sense. You have to.
Yeah, I mean, if it's sunny out, depends. If it's cloudy,
yeah,
I'll have the top down. But if it's sunny, I have the top up. You bake in it very quickly.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a car that's meant for night driving.
I think so?
Yeah. I like the, I don't know how to call it, but it's like 1980 Miami Vice type of vibes from, Ocean Drive type of music. That's the kind of music I like listening to.
When you drive?
Oh, yeah. It's just the best.
Yeah, I mean, every time, the perks of living down the street from you, every time I see you out there, it's top down. Hair flowing.
And the fact that it's just yellow.
Yeah, it sticks out.
Yeah.
There is another guy in town with a yellow one.
Yeah.
And I've run into him so many times.
Blake.
Is it Blake?
Yeah. And I think there's another yellow, and it's a girl that drives it. I just don't know who it is.
I don't think I've seen that. Every time I've seen that yellow one, I'm ready to yell, Nico! And then I pull up, and I'm like, oh, God, thank God I didn't say anything.
Just looking at the car really weird and excited.
Yeah.
And the guy just looks at you, okay.
Just gonna go.
But yeah, anything else you like to plug before we end the show?
I think we've covered pretty much most of it.
Or just want to save it till next time?
Yeah, maybe we'll save it till next time. There is quite a bit, but for most of what we've talked about, it's covered.
Yeah, we covered my little accident with the chin and the
Matt's
pocket bike with
episode.
Matt. Yeah, we already covered that.
Yeah, that was the day. That was. I remember standing there with Matt, like, yo, like, where is this guy? It's been 20 minutes, and like in the faint distance, all I hear is. I'm like, what is that? And I peek around the corner, and you're dragging the bike, rear wheel locked, blood all over your clothes. Yeah.
I got hit by a car.
Yeah.
We gotta take you to the hospital.
That was that whole experience in itself was just like, like you go to this carnival where you don't expect to win anything, and Matt's like, dude, like, just try this game. I'm like, like, I'm gonna lose. Like, I don't want to spend money on a game.
Yeah, carnival games are rigged.
Yeah, they're rigged. Matt's like, I'll pay for it, man. $5, one ball, and like one hit, got the pocket bike. I'm like, what?
Oh, so you got it for $5?
$5.
Jesus.
Yeah, which sucks because I've been every year since, and I've probably wasted 100 times that trying to win it again. But like, that's what I mean. Like, it was just a whole like bizarre situation. You coming over, hey, like, I'm gonna ride. Yeah, no problem. And then that spot on your chin that probably doesn't grow hair anymore. Yeah, it's not bad.
No, it doesn't grow hair. It's the other.
You just
the other
cover it.
beard that grows over top of it.
Yeah.
So.
Experiences, right?
Yeah.
Better on a bike than a small bike, at least.
Yeah, we've had a number of them, but yeah, it's been an interesting last few years, man. We
Yeah.
grew up with cars together. I think it's just gonna keep growing.
I think so.
I'm hoping to grow the collection.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to grow it, and
You don't plan on selling that ever, do you?
I don't plan. Never say never.
Never say no.
Never say never, because I've met so many people that are like, "Yep, this is my forever car," and then
Yeah.
2 years later, something happens, this and that. But I will not. I'll sell my watches before I sell this thing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not. This is my baby.
No, I don't blame you. I mean, if there's a car that I could have kept, honestly, it probably would have been my E36.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
That car was just that and the G35, but something about the E36 was just raw. You know what I mean? That shifting, the clunking, and all the mechanisms, which you don't get in most cars nowadays. Everything's so smooth.
Well, you also had a chance to buy a Supra, right? A Mark IV?
Yeah, right between when I sold the E36, it was just a bit out of my budget, but I remember this red 95 target top, standard left-hand drive.
What was out of budget?
He was asking 28, and I was 19, 18 at the time.
Oh yeah, that's an arm and a leg.
Yeah, so like
That didn't make sense. But today, listening to you, like 28 for a Supra.
I know. I asked my dad, I'm like, Dad, like, I'm short some money, like, can you? And he's like, cars, like, you gotta grow up one day. And I'm like, and I come to him now every day, and I'm like, Dad, remember that Supra that we could have bought?
It's now 100K.
Yeah, and he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. But
Dads
he's
never
little,
make a
man.
mistake.
No, parents are always right.
Yep.
But and the bike, I forgot I had an R6.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I had to get that out of my system for a year.
Yeah, and good thing you did, because I'm
not made for bikes.
No. Well, first day you got it, you were doing wheelies.
Yeah, like, I mean, I remember going to pick up this bike, and on the way home, I'm YouTubing, like, where the shifter is, where the clutch is, where the brakes are. Get to my shop. 5 minutes later, I'm doing 200 kilometers down the road, trying to figure out where the brake.
figure out
Yeah.
stuff as you're doing 200.
I'm doing 170. I'm watching the cluster go 170, 180, 190, and I'm like, all right, time to brake. Which one's the brake? All right, right, okay. And I'm slowing down, and I'm like, yeah, like, I'm very bad for wanting to push my limits, and I don't know what my limit is yet. Even the day I bought the Lexus, like, I was at the dealership for 8 hours. Everything was going wrong, and like, the dealership's an hour and a half away, and I'm at the point where I'm like, all right, like, I just want to go. They gave me the car at like 8 at night, and that was the night that I was like, all right, let's see what this thing can do. And
You were there for 8 hours. Everything was going wrong. What do you
yeah.
mean?
Well, so the thing is, like, that was a Friday. I went on a Friday. I'm like, I want this car. Let's work on the paperwork. It was the dealer owner's car.
Okay.
And we were on a tight timeline to build the RCF Rocket Bunny for the show.
Right.
So we needed to take it as soon as possible, get measurements. So anyways, I went back.
What show
Saturday.
was this?
This was...
What show were you building it for?
Which dealer?
No, what show?
Import Fest.
Oh, Import Fest. Okay.
Yeah. So Friday we talked to the owner, got everything figured out, and like surprisingly enough, like the next day, like it was ready to go. So they're come Saturday 8 a.m. I'm there, and I didn't leave till 8 p.m. So I was there for 12 hours at the dealership.
Jesus.
So picked up the car, and I'm like, oh, let's see what this thing can do. There's no limiter at 340. Like that's when it stops. Like it says 340 on the cluster, it'll go 340.
Oh wow.
Cluster. Yeah.
But wait, what went wrong at the dealership though? That's what I'm curious.
So
about.
they were running into issues about changing the plates over, I guess, because the owner, I really don't know. Like, I don't understand. They were going back and forth trying to get plates. They couldn't get plates.
Oh, licensing.
Yeah.
They're having issues licensing the car.
And like I was supposed to put my officer police plates on, but I couldn't do that with the dealership. I had to do that on my own. So it was a lot of back and forth. I wasn't really certain what was going on, but I mean, I ended up getting the car the next day, which is impressive. Don't get me wrong, but I wish I wasn't there for 12 hours.
Yeah, and then having to make another trip back to Toronto.
Yeah. And then the funny part is when they brought the car out, they reversed it into the parking sign and put a nice dent in the rear bumper. They're like, do you mind leaving with us for a week and we'll fix it for you? I'm like, no, I'll take it home. I'll have some fun with it. I get some measurements for, the wheels and everything, and I'll bring it back.
Right.
So they ended up fixing the rear bumper, but I don't know how you do that when there's a rear camera.
So did they fix the rear bumper before the show? Before Import Fest?
Yeah. So I brought the car home for a week. We had to measure wheels size. I was running 20 by 13s in the rear, 335. So like we had to make sure that the measurements would work with the body kit, line up the body kit.
Right.
Because the wheels would take 4 to 8 weeks to make with Boston. So I had the car for a week and then I returned it. They had it for a week. They gave me a loaner car and they fixed it up, and then I brought it back. Took it under the knife. Cut the car up. I made the first cut.
I still remember that.
Yeah.
Where you were cutting it and it was just, what are you doing to $100,000 car?
Yeah, yeah. I at that point I was like, I am making either a very big mistake or a very good mistake. So it ended up being a good mistake.
Yeah.
That car really built the business. That business was built around that car. I met people that I never thought I would meet because of that car. So to be able to put a name on something like that to me is priceless.
Right.
And the people that I met, I still talk to today, car or not. It never really comes down to just a car. Who you are is who you are, and the car is just something that's tagged on with you. So it was a good buy. As nervous as I was being at that age, buying a car at that value, and putting even more money into it and cutting it, and the fact that it was the first Rocket Bunny kit. This kit hasn't been put on any cars, so it was more like, and I'm holding these pieces and I'm like, none of this fits. Because there's nothing cut out yet, and I'm like, this is not gonna fit. Like, it doesn't make any sense, but it fit. It worked out, and they did a good job. Automatrix in Toronto did a good job putting that on.
Right.
So,
wow.
And I remember picking that car up, and I'm like, this is awesome. And I drove it down the street, drove it home from Toronto, and the amount of looks and like everything from there just blew up.
Yeah.
And then,
well, I think that once you plug an Instagram handle on your car, that's where it kicks off.
And the officer please plates.
Officer please plates might not be the best thing for cops when you get pulled over, but
it's pulled me out of situations.
Really?
I've heard
well, I mean, these guys do have a sense of humor. Don't get me wrong.
They do.
They're great.
They do. I've actually never had issues with cops. Like, I've been pulled over for things I shouldn't have been doing, and I mean, surprisingly, at the end of the day, like,
knock on wood, me neither.
Yeah, I've been let go numerous amount of times.
Wow.
So I'm thankful for that.
Front plate first day.
I've never had a front plate on that Lexus until I got.
No, but you got a front plate ticket.
Yeah. I have, I think, maybe 13 or 14 of those on my record.
And you don't care. You just pay them and go along.
Yeah. And that's the weird thing. They will stop me every chance they can for a no front plate. But the Jeep, I haven't had a plate on for a year. And it's a truck. Yep. So my sticker is on the front plate.
What color was your G35?
Tiffany blue.
What color was the RCF?
Tiffany blue, purple,
and
silver.
all of the colors that scream, look at me. So I think that's why.
But then that's the thing too, is they love Jeeps. Like, cops, don't get me wrong, I get thumbs up all the time. Especially in the summer, no doors, half doors, all my things on. I'll see a cop and he'll be looking at me at the other end and I'll be like, yo, thumbs up, man, it looks good. No front plate. And again, my front plate's the one that has the sticker on there. So I'm driving around with no front plate, no sticker.
But the thing is, The Jeep isn't so subtle either.
No.
It's also loud in its own way. And I'm not talking about loud as in ears, but the way just the way it looks.
It does. It looks like a military truck.
Yeah.
It does look like a military truck, especially in the summer when I have those half doors with the mesh. It does look like it's like I could probably put a machine gun on the top and probably get away with it.
So COVID turns us into zombies?
Yeah.
Paul's house.
Paintball machine gun.
Yeah. No, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's been a unique few years.
Especially
5, 6
2020.
years. Yeah.
But how do you feel now that we've done 15 takes in 5 minutes?
Yeah, the first 4, 5, 6 takes there. Thank goodness for this.
Thanks for coming on to the show, Nico. Yeah, I guess you're hosting then.
I'm just not used to being around people because of COVID. You can't have anybody around you.
Well, we're down the road. We see each other.
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot, so we're practically family.
I have 100% family, but definitely been not
Socially
seeing anybody.
awkward. Yeah, nobody has.
Yeah.
But I think we're out of time. But I will actually definitely have you back on the show.
Awesome.
Hopefully soon. And let's wrap it up here.
Let's wrap it up.
All right, man. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.